Howdy, my name's Brian Foley. We're going to be discussing theft charges in the Woodlands, Texas today. Let's look at the elements of a theft charge. We've got unlawfully appropriating property with intent to deprive the owner of the property. This is all coming from the Texas Penal Code, Chapter 31. And unlawfully just means in violation of some Texas Penal Code provision. It's all Chapter 31 for theft. There is no distinction between theft and shoplifting. It is all part of the same thing now. Property just means like movable property, anything that you'd find inside Walmart, any kind of retail merchandise is going to count for that, but it could mean other things in different contexts. With intent to deprive, it means that the person who did the exercising control of that property had the mental purpose of taking that property and allowing the owner of that property not to enjoy their property anymore. You don't have to keep it forever. It's not an intent to permanently deprive, which used to be the law. It's just an intent to deprive, which means that the owner loses significant value and enjoyment of that property. So a good example is like an iPad. If you take an iPad from somebody and you intended to give it back to them after a period of 2 years, well, the law doesn't really care about that because if 2 years from losing a brand new iPad, it's probably going to be out of date. The original owner is going to have lost all the reasonable use and enjoyment of that property. And then the owner of the property, it doesn't mean that you don't have some kind of interest in the property. It means that the owner has a greater right to possession of that property than you do. So what if you didn't leave the store? Well, there is no particular rule that says you have to completely leave the store. But if you pass all the points of sale, you've probably done enough that a jury or a judge is going to find that you had the intent to permanently deprive. Even if it's a mistake, then there may be evidence that shows that you were guilty. So that's where these things become tricky is people do make mistakes. People get distracted by children. They get distracted by different things and just generally people having a bad day. I don't know how many different folks I've talked to over the years who've been charged with this offense who were just having a bad day and it got made worse by an arrest for this kind of an offense. So the reason that they try to allow you to pass all the points of sale is to show that intent to deprive, but they don't want you to leave the store completely so that they can exercise what we call the shopkeeper's privilege. That leads us to the question I get asked more than any other, and that is, can Walmart detain me for a criminal case like this, even though they're not the police? Well, yes, the Texas Civil Practices and Remedy Code has something called the shopkeeper's privilege, and it allows somebody like an asset protection control person at a Walmart or Dillard's or wherever to detain someone while they wait for the real police to arrive and do an investigation. They probably are going to make an arrest. The officers in Montgomery County deal with this all the time. Again, our most likely places for a theft charge to come from the Woodlands is Walmart or Dillard's, but they do come from other places. So any person who reasonably believes that another person has stolen or is attempting to steal property will be able to exercise this shopkeeper's privilege and detain you in the store. So what do we do to try to keep your record clean? Well, we have to try to find problems with their evidence. We get discovery from the DA's office, or we find a way to show them the value that you bring to society, the value that your life would have continuing forward if this one-time mistake was treated as a mistake and not an indication of your character. I always like to get character letters for our clients from people that they know, hopefully non-family members who can really attest to, the fact that they knew about the offense and that the person, this is not in their character. This is not something they would do under normal circumstances. And then especially if we have some extenuating circumstances, some life stress issues that have been going on that have led to this, then we are going to try to discuss those things and let the DA know so that we can get an offer that allows us to get a dismissal and then an expunction. An expunction is the best case scenario anytime there's a criminal case. It means that all the records in the government databases of the offense can be deleted entirely and wiped from your record.